Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with a Founder, and I'm Beck Bamberger. We do this show sometimes with coffee, not right now because it's past 1 p.m. Ross, too late in the day. We do this show because it is difficult to understand why crazy people, and I say crazy lovingly, crazy people do these venture backed startup things and really assert technologies into the world that are so needed, hopefully, and for the betterment of society and our cultures and so forth. And to educate ourselves just here and other founders on like what does it take? What does it look like? What do founders stay up at night about? All that good stuff. So with us today, coming from Seattle, am I right, Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from Seattle is Ross Finman. He is the founder and CEO of Augmodo. Ross, so that we don't forget, because you dropped a gem before we hit recording, what was that piece of advice that you heard years ago from, I think you said a mentor, advisor?
Uh, yeah, mentor, advisor on there.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, I forgot about it and all the prep and like thinking through everything else on there.
Well,
So,
I will tell you what you told me, Ross, because I was like, oh, save it, save it. You
yeah.
said product market fit
Oh, it's not a happy feeling.
is
Yes,
not a happy
it's
feeling.
yeah,
Do
it's like
explain. Do explain.
yeah, so at least there like everyone thinks about, oh, here's what you want to achieve as a startup. You want a whole bunch of customers banging on your door, trying to like
Yeah.
throw money at you in a
Yeah.
sense,
Can't keep up with
figuratively.
the POs. Yeah.
But then, but yeah, when you actually go through that experience, then it's an oh crap moment of like, hey, how do you start to scale like to their demand? Like we work in the retail space, so then there it's like we have
Physical.
people with thousands of stores. Like,
Yes.
how do you work on that? Like that is
Yes.
a yeah, and when you have
Yes.
find the right pitch with the right customers, it all flows on there. It becomes more
Yes.
of a crushing feeling when you talked about like staying up at night. That is the literal like 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like thinking in bed, oh, here are the 20 things that we need to do that we should have done 3 months ago
But here
to
we
get in
are.
there.
We don't have time for that. So,
Yeah. So it's yeah, definitely not a happy feeling, but it is it's a fulfilling feeling, shall we
okay. I
say.
was going to say, what is the feeling? It's a fulfilling
Yep.
feeling. It's a, I'm sure, a rush feeling of,
Yeah,
oh my
no, well,
gosh, and an excitement feeling. But yeah, more with like the dread in your eyes.
yeah, well, there's a certain worry that I at least have, and I talk about this with some of my friends, is like, do you get addicted to the rush of like, oh, okay, like, and everything's blowing up, and like all the details, all the customers, you need to go on a flight to different areas, something's on fire,
Uh
then do
huh.
you actually get addicted to the stress of it all? And it's like, then if you step
Some
away
do.
from it, no, and
Some
like for
do.
me, I sold my first company, and then I
You're
say
like,
I
no,
tried retiring and failed, and it was like to sit
Ross,
there
you
and you're
have
like, am I going to be
you,
a gardener for the next 50 years of my life? And you're like,
Ross.
yeah,
That's because you have founderitis, a disease that is inescapable, which
yeah.
is you cannot sit there and be like, la di da, let me run a nonprofit or let me garden my trees for the next 50. No, no, you can't help it. Takes one to
Uh,
know one. You got to just, you're like, but this problem, I got to fix this problem. I got to do that. And then here you are again. But hopefully, wiser, smarter, better ammunition to go up the hill and do the war again.
you,
Hopefully.
you say that, but then it's like I view for my first company, we had
Yeah.
30 problems, but when we really had three. So I was like, or sorry, I was aware of three problems when we really had 30.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now it's like, hey, we have nine. I'm aware of nine problems when we probably have about 10. So then it feels three times as bad, even though you're three times better. So it's like all the
Yeah.
things you know you don't know. So then there's a certain element
Yeah.
of there's happy or ignorance is bliss of just yeah, here are all the ways in which my first company probably could have died that I was just completely unaware about. Now I'm
Yeah.
aware of all of them for now for my new company,
There
very
you go.
viscerally.
That's how you know. Okay. So let's back it up for a second, Ross. So, you spent a decade working at MIT on computer vision, and you worked at NASA, you worked at SpaceX. Okay. You grew up on a llama farm. Do I have this right?
Yeah, MIT people were a dime a dozen. Aren't that many llama farmers in the world doing tech? So
So, well, I was going to go somewhere else totally with this, but real quick, just with the llama farm thing. So, how has that helped you at all with startups or not? Llamas
I
seem
would
pretty happy, so I would say maybe you embrace their spirit.
Oh, no, the alpacas are happy, like, the llamas are the wannabe camels that'll hunt you down. You've never experienced true
Oh.
fear until you've been chased down by 400 pounds of awkward galloping llama. So it's
Oh. Oh, okay. Ooh,
so,
I learned
like
something today.
yeah, no, the
Okay.
alpacas are the cute fluffy
Yeah, they're the
ones,
ki
like,
yes. I've seen in
llamas are
South
like
America. Okay,
yeah.
llamas are wannabes. Camels.
Well, they're just like, their teeth are all ingrowing, they spit on you, they chase you down, they don't
Like
like
camels.
people,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's,
Oh.
so we actually
Ah, it
got them
taught
as
you
a
grit.
protection herd.
Yeah.
Um
Oh, a protection herd from what?
From, like, the wolves to the bears, so
Oh,
I grew up in Idaho, and then,
okay.
like, the coyotes were picking off the goats, so then, our
Oh,
neighbor was, like, giving away, "Hey, do you want 40 llamas?" And there should always be, like,
40?
well,
Oh,
then they start
no.
breeding, and then you end up
Oh,
with, like
no.
I think we peaked out at around 60 or 70, but,
Oh, no. 40. Ooh,
yeah.
that is such like a Idaho story where it's like who your neighbor who's just like, "Hey, you want four I got 40." It's like not a
Well
dozen eggs. 40?
yeah,
Wow.
well, then it's like then you need to feed them, which costs a
Yes.
lot, and then, like, you're like, "Oh, this will be great, we'll have, like, pet llamas," and
No.
no, they're really,
No.
horrible
Nasty.
creatures, so I'd say for me as a startup, it gave me, 1, a grounding of, like, hey, I'd go home and dad would say, "Hey, clean out the barn with a pitchfork," and it would just be like, "This is
Yep.
my first company, I graduated from MIT," and I was like,
Who
"Oh,
cares?
llamas are still pooping," like, it's like so
Ah, I was listening to just a clip on Instagram today or something where it's just like the universe it still rains on everybody.
yep,
Gravity still works on everybody. It doesn't
um
matter. It doesn't matter. You know, fire still burns everybody.
So, and then it
Ah,
also is
okay,
helpful that I knew what
humility.
I did not want to do, of
Also
like,
that.
"Hey, what's about
Also
as
that.
far away from, like, llama farming?" Like, went into robotics, and then on the computer vision side, now I'm, like, the wearable
Oh
tech,
my
and, like,
God.
yeah, it gives you a nice contrast, and if you're still
Wow.
defining what you're running towards, at least know what you're running away from.
There you go. That's also just as helpful. Mm. So, do you go back to the
Uh
farm to the see the like where do you go back to get that little dose of humility or just groundedness or what?
Well
We never see
well, I
them
now
both.
have a two-year-old and a four-year-old,
Okay, so
so, like, I'm
no.
like,
You're
yeah,
not gonna
but
no is the
also
answer. You're in Seattle, you're
bad
doing
thing
yeah.
is, and maybe this is, ruining a core part of, my history in a sense, like,
Who
my,
cares?
family actually gave away, the la or my father is, like, over 70 now,
You
and,
gave
like
him away. That
yeah,
chapter ended.
so
Oh.
then they get passed on to the next schmucks, or sorry, next,
Jeez. Were they by the way, was this like a passed down herd? Were they like passed along to someone else also in
uh
Idaho, like you all?
I don't know what is the history of them before we got them, but, we at least passed them on to the next farm down the street, and then it's like
They're
the
passed through
cycle
generation.
continues. Yep.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Okay. Back to the company, Ross.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
have, yeah, yeah. So you have founderitis. Okay. The llamas taught you grit, I'd say, humility. That's what I'm going to deduce from that. Tell us what does Augmodo do? Because you said you just had you're launching in stores, you're physically launching in stores. So there's like
Yeah.
that's the problem with anything in physical space, you know. And I always say this with founders who are building, like we all have to be clothed, we all have to be housed, we all have to have food. Like there's
Mhm.
these basic things. So in your case with Augmodo, give us the overview.
So my background coming from the computer vision space, so then it was actually during the baby formula shortage a couple years ago. So as a new father trying to feed my kids, like trying to find formula, and driving around about 100 miles in a minivan going store to store, like was like, why don't retailers know what's on the shelf? So
Yeah.
initially started to like solve that problem when you have the visceral of like you go off on a Saturday and your wife's like, don't come back unless you can feed the family,
Mm.
effectively. So we help solve that problem, like just as AI is changing knowledge work, spatial AI is going to change physical work.
Yeah.
Working on augmenting the physical workforce inside of stores. So then we make wearable smart badges for retail associates, to just passively wear as they do their day job.
Hmm.
So you just wear a name badge. It has two cameras that are collecting everything. And then as associates are walking around, stocking the shelves, picking e-commerce orders, helping customers, you're able to build up a live Google Street View for shelves in real time.
There you
So then
go.
say, hey, is a product on the shelf? Yes or no? Is it at the right location? Is it at the right
Mm-hmm.
price? Did a task get done? There's also some security applications that people have been
Yes.
asking for on there, um,
Yes.
helping like
Helps with
even become.
shrinkage. I'm thinking for those who don't know, shrinkage is like stealing of stuff.
Yep, and even
Yeah.
helping, like, if you've ever ordered on e-commerce orders, like, and you get a substitution,
Oh
like, those
yeah.
are massive pain in the butts, but,
Yeah.
30 to 50% of products are verifiably in store and not found just because people don't know where they are because it's hard.
Oh, interesting.
If there's 50,000 products in your average
Yeah.
grocery store, so, like, someone can't remember all of them, and
Yeah.
they're moving around constantly, so then if you can actually have a, "Hey, 2 minutes ago, someone walked by here," how do you guide them through there? And how do you have, again, all the data for real time? So,
Mm-hmm.
and we view this as to add on 2 years of experience to every retail associate on day one. How do
Hmm.
we make their jobs easier and
Mm-hmm.
faster?
Mm-hmm.
And then even in the longer term, I view the tech can be used for like future Apple, Google, Meta smart glasses. Like I come from the augmented reality
Yes.
space, but like rather than helping an e-commerce person find their products in store, what about you as a consumer on the current Ray-Bans Meta glasses?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a little compass arrow guiding you on your store.
Hmm.
If we
Mm-hmm.
already have all of the data and this kind of live updating map of the store, then all that becomes available. So, and
Mm-hmm.
like from my background before, it kind of connected to a lot of what I was doing. Like, sold my first company to Niantic, the makers of Pokemon Go, and we were their founding
Awesome.
AR acquisition.
Awesome.
And we built up the largest crowdsourced map of the world. But like, let me
Of
tell
course
you,
you
it's
did.
hard to monetize sidewalks, playgrounds, and fountains. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sounds like big. You're like, hey, we're
Yeah.
gonna have the map of the world, and you're just like, and who's gonna pay you for the like fountain on Second Avenue data? But
Yeah.
like retail, hey, many people want the data inside of the store. How do you make the workforce kind of, or how do you augment the
So
workforce?
let me ask you maybe an unpopular question for you, Ross, but maybe one you get from VCs. Hey, Ross, well, won't robots be doing all that anyway? So why do we need to have these tags on humans right now?
I view a certain amount of that task still
Yeah.
be done by robots, but
Yeah.
like, have you like robots replacing everything that people do versus augmenting them?
Hmm.
Like, hey, robots in warehouses moving things around, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Of
But
course. Heavy things,
are you going to
particularly.
have
Yeah.
an army of robots going around a store on there?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not in the next decade or two. So
Mm-hmm.
then, and then what are all the different tasks that you need to do? Is a robot going to be taking off the truck? Is it going to be stocking pallets in the back? Is it going to be bringing it out to the front, making sure the Super Bowl section is all set
Mm-hmm.
up? Like stocking each individual product of cosmetics on there. Like, I still view that we're going to end up, and we're already seeing this, you're having like AI co-pilots in the digital space.
Oh, yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
hey, we're not replacing everything, but you're working with people. So you're leveraging what people are good at and what the technology is good at and blending them together.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, yeah, there'll be a certain subset of the retail space that'll be automated.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, that'll get a little bit more and a little bit more. But I don't see people going away, at least in the next like 10, 20 years. And if you can empower
I don't see people going away either, Ross. Hot take of today.
them.
Jesus, man. Jesus.
Pendulum swinging
Okay.
back a little bit now that the
You
incumbents
know,
feel that they're in a good position.
there's a lot of things I file today in the just because we can doesn't mean we should category in the tech world, but that is okay. That's another podcast we can go down
We
then.
can watch Jurassic Park together someday. So
Exactly. With the animatronic shaking dinosaurs, I love it. Oh my God. Clearly we are kids of the 90s. The
uh,
past century, Ross, the past
yeah,
century.
yeah.
Of course.
These
My
young whippersnappers
these
don't know
young,
good
they
cinema.
don't know good cinema when the animatronic is shaking. Listen, listen. Anyway, okay. So you mentioned again before we were hitting record, like, oh my God, your team is doubling. Now you're not like hundreds of people, so it's not like that huge of a thing. But when you are doing this scaling so rapidly in your product market fit, which, as you said, is not a happy time, it is a thrilling time, but not a happy time. How are you thinking of just culture and team cohesion?
Um, well, it's a lot of the things is things change at different scales. And like when I joined Niantic, they 6x'd in my first 18 months there.
Mm,
So then there was 120 people, grew to 600 people. So I've kind of seen a little bit before. And essentially every time you double the team, then the nature of the problems kind of change on there. So when you're like 5 to 10 people, 2 pizza box size. Okay, everyone knows everything that's going on there.
Yeah,
You
the
can
pizza box.
execute very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
But then once you start to get into like the 20 to 30 person range, or you double
yeah.
people again, then it's really okay. What is the inner communication across the team? What is the framework? How can you start
Mm-hmm.
extracting things to a little bit more bullet points?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the so I think that's where communication and what is the right level of abstraction become important. So like
Mm-hmm.
internally, there's like features and they call them like, hey, we're working on the V3 pipeline. You can call something the V3 pipeline if everyone knows what V3
If
is.
everyone
Like
knows, yeah.
you're in 4 people in a week, they're going to say, what is V3? So then you need to work on a more appropriate naming scheme on there. So you end up from I think, or at least for me, like and we have a more complicated product than most. It's not like hey, set up a website, Airbnb. Not to say Airbnb was a simple company, but from a tech
Yeah.
perspective, was more obvious in terms of a marketplace for us. Like for deploying to all of one of our customers on there, we'll be deploying multiples, like 4 times, 8 times, 10 times the amount of data that YouTube ingests per day. So like, how do you handle the scale of the data platforms that are on there? It's not an intuitive thing. So if you're having the sales team talk about it, you're having the product managers work with it, you're having the computer vision team build features in a complicated infrastructure, then like the communication, how do you translate in between the two? You're very much primed for miscommunications. So
Mm.
as of right now, like I'm focusing on how do you clean up the communications? How do you have proper naming for individual topics, which me at MIT years ago, I would have said, oh, geez, spending all the time on naming, and you get into like, well, if people assume that like a
Yeah.
word means multiple different things, then like you can have different assumptions that start to break down
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have that tight knit communication. So I think that's one. Second is from a hiring. Now, your first 10 hires are arguably your most important from a culture.
Yes,
They
yes,
set the
they are the
tone.
fiber. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you hit like 30 plus people, then like, okay, it's more about finding people that then fit into the culture. So I was very meticulous on the first 10 and went through a lot of different candidates to find the right people on there from to set the tone. So once we had all of our bases covered, then individual hires come in to scale those people, but then they also fit into the culture on there. So I think that gets into it. Do you want to spend time talking to a person? Does a 30-minute interview, do you ask, oh, do you have 5, 10 more minutes? Versus okay, we got about 7 minutes left, and like trying to fill up the time on there. You can kind of get a
Yeah,
gut feeling of that.
yeah. Mm.
Then it's also, at least for us, there's still like a lot of major technical considerations. So, and can't help myself, I still like to get deep into the tech on
I know,
a
you
lot of
can't help it. Mm-hmm.
well, it's
Mm-hmm.
like most of the
That's
people
your
stuff.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
wait. Finish that. So most of the people stuff.
most of the people stuff you'll figure out if you did a good job today in
Yes.
6 months.
Yes.
The timelines
Yeah.
on that versus on the technical, it's like, hey, it's like I like gave this input 2 weeks later, system like
Here it
worked on
is.
there. Um,
Exactly.
so then there's a little bit more of the instant gratification and like the direct thoughts and then like the understanding of how everything worked rather
Mm-hmm.
than did I communicate this the right way? Like you
Mm-hmm.
really won't know in the next 2 weeks if everything worked well, but probably 3 months from now, if you didn't do
Mm-hmm.
it well, then it becomes a lot more apparent.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of this like small changes can affect big outcomes.
Oh, I know. That's the scary
And
part.
that's like having gone through this now like 2 times, then you can start to say, hey, I can predict it. And then you get to learn new lessons of like,
Now you know. Well, I don't know what we would classify it. I want to like name it, but it's problem accuracy or problem foresight. You know, where you're like, well, there's 10 problems, and I am aware now that there's 9. Whereas old founder me with little experience was like, oh, there's one problem, and there's actually 100. You know,
yeah,
that's kind of what you're talking about.
I
So
was a lot happier back then, as we said. Like
see,
I slept better those days.
see, yes, awareness, Bruce. I don't want to say anxiety, but awareness has a lot of responsibility. Well, we'll just say that.
With great awareness comes a lot of anxiety, like I
Yes,
said.
yes, perhaps that, perhaps that. Well, Ross, what a lovely time having you on today on our little coffee with the founder. No coffee today, but here in spirit. Everybody, this is Ross Finman. He's the founder and CEO of Augmodo. Consider llamas for your next way to
That's your
learn,
main takeaway from
grit.
everything. It's like,
I
oh,
just,
AI tech, everything
you
else,
know what?
llamas.
Llamas, they teach you grit.
Okay.
They
Well, it
teach
was a
you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you, Beck, and looking forward to staying in touch.
Thanks for being here, Ross. Appreciate it.